good hyperbolic time chamber time, and welcome to Deep Space and Dragons. I am your host, Richard, and returning from his voyage far away is...
I'm Karl, the co-host, who has spent far too long in the hyperbolic time chamber.
I mean, to be fair, if you have a time chamber and you can just listen to all our podcasts in like 10 minutes, do it. It's worth that trade of your lifespan. We've already established that I'll eat hot dogs that reduce my lifespan, so I might as well use time chambers to enjoy podcasts to reduce my lifespan.
Or use the time chamber to enjoy more hot dogs.
Oh man, then you're just like, are you doubling down on lifespan loss there? But first, by first I mean the entire point of this episode, what is new with you?
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, I've just come back from a work vacation of sorts.
Case, do.
Well, so, I mean, when new stores open up with our franchise, I generally am one of the people who's tasked to go out to the new store and help train the people. So I get like a 2-week expensed trip to whatever town it happens to be in. So I've been to all sorts of small towns all across Saskatchewan, like Moosomin, Esterhazy, Yorkton. I mean, Yorkton's not technically a small town by Saskatchewan standards, because it's like the 6th largest city in Saskatchewan at 16,000 people.
You know, I love to make the joke that if we ever had the zombie apocalypse, I would come back to Saskatchewan, because I think we could feasibly kill the entire population of zombies and just have a zombie-free zone. Like, it's mathematically doable. There are enough bullets in Saskatchewan to end all life in Saskatchewan.
But so this time the franchise that was opening up opened in Calgary, which has enough people to contain all of Saskatchewan in one city.
Probably not even like one of the big cities. Anyway.
But so the past 2 weeks I've just been in Calgary helping set up their store, doing graphic design work that I'm unqualified for.
Fantastic.
But actually, so I was driving in Calgary because I mean there's only I made a goal for myself to eat at a different restaurant every single day.
This I'm aware of, and because I spent maybe like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-ish years in Calgary, you'd think I would have remembered the name of a single restaurant. But I did not. Please continue.
But so I found out there's only one Olive Garden for all of Calgary, and it was like a 20-minute drive.
Calgary Garden? Eh?
Yeah.
Olive Calgary? Yeah. Continue.
All of Calgary. Yes, I see now. I see now what happened.
I just had to oil the conversation a bit, get to the pit of the problem. Please continue.
That doesn't soften the blow. Anyways, so my story about the Olive Garden is that it was like a 20-minute drive, and I drove all the way out there, and then I realized I didn't have my wallet, so I had to drive back to get my wallet. Then I drove all the way out back to the Olive Garden, and it was like 7:30, so I thought their supper rush would be over. They were still lined up out the door, and it was like, what the heck?
Well, clearly this was entirely because of Sonic the Hedgehog. But please continue.
Well, I mean, I just gave up, and I went to the somewhat nearby Burger King. The ratios are like, I don't know. I'm used to Saskatoon, where there's like 3 of every restaurant, and we only have a quarter of the population.
Saskatoon has so much restaurant per square footage, because it's like the one hobby you can have is eat or drink, because it doesn't involve the frigid, icy death that is the outside. Saskatchewan is all about food to fill that void inside your soul. But please continue.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's if I didn't want anything that was on the main highway that was close to my hotel, it was like a 20-minute drive. It was kind of crazy. But I also happened to notice that the major street signs just don't quite have all the information that I would expect on a street sign.
Oh yeah, so from my personal experience living in Calgary, so Saskatchewan's roads and streets are surprisingly well labeled. Calgary, you don't travel by street signs. You travel by feeling. There's two trains, they make kind of an X, and then you just kind of try and like follow that X to the approximate area. And this might be part of my terrible navigation abilities, is there's just no point in trying to traditionally navigate that city.
Yeah, so it's like I'm on Deerfoot Trail, and I want Barlow, and I want Barlow Trail southeast. So I'm going down Deerfoot Trail. I see my exit, and it says Barlow Trail. Left is north, right is south. Like, okay, so if I want southeast, I obviously want to go south. No. It just neglected to mention that that's Barlow Trail southeast, and you're just heading south on Barlow Trail southeast, or north on Barlow Trail southeast. And so I ended up getting lost and having to do like a huge turnaround because like it just no, you don't need to know whether or not what sector of the city you're in. You just need to know which cardinal direction you're going.
Nope. So Calgary decided that it's being built into quadrants, and each one is more confusing than Victory Road in Pokemon Red and Blue. I know Victory Road's got simpler over time, so that's why I'm going with the OG one. Although it might be more accurate that it's like that chunk of water in Ruby Sapphire that has the like slidey tiles that just kind of bats you around at random.
Yeah.
Where you have to go on the exact individual pixels to end up at the crumbling tower of Rayquaza.
But so like I get a smug sense of self-satisfaction out of navigating a unfamiliar city without using navigation on like Google Maps or something. But it took me a while to actually figure out how to navigate the city because the street signs just didn't quite tell me all the information I wanted.
Yeah, it's kind of weird where they're like, okay, we're going to quadrant these, but if you're going in the opposite direction of the quadrant, your instructions just don't make any sense.
Well, exactly. But I mean, other than that, it was a pretty uneventful trip. I stayed at a hotel with a swimming pool. Hotels seem to only have one design of water slide.
I feel like that company that sells those is making cash money.
Well, I don't know how long these things are supposed to last. When I went to the water slide in Moose Jaw, because I helped a franchise out in Moose Jaw, so it's like a spiral staircase, and then it's a completely enclosed tube that spirals around the staircase back into the water. Mm-hmm. And that's like the design. I've stayed at like 4 or 5 different hotels that have that same design. But the one in Moose Jaw was so like rickety. I don't know. It must have been on the end of its life because it's like you're walking up the staircase and it's like wobbling back and forth, and then you go down and shoot like a bullet into the water. But this one had a pretty like nice, stable feeling water slide, so I appreciate that. And it was open from like 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. So there was like 1 hour a day where you could get and there would be no screaming kids.
You know, it'd be great. Just a career where we just went around rating water slides. Like if that was just our full-time job, was to tour this great country and judge water slides.
Another strange fun fact that I kind of don't know if I enjoyed or not, but in Saskatchewan, you're required to have a license posted in your elevator, and I believe it was Moosomin, the elevator that I was riding in, their license was expired, which I don't think affected the efficacy of the elevator, but I was a little bit concerned that I was riding in an expired elevator.
I mean, that sentence is hilarious.
But in Calgary, none of the elevators I happened to ride in had any licenses in them. They were just unlicensed elevators.
So, obviously, and very clearly, this is some sort of, like, horrifying scheme. Like, you've just stumbled onto, like, oh yeah, the Yakuza in Calgary runs the elevator racket. Just don't ask any questions. Okay? These illegal elevators that all lead to the unlabeled secret 13th floors. It's just a whole thing.
Enough about my mundane adventures in Calgary. What's new with you, Richard?
Okay, so I haven't had it. So my summer has been pretty open. It's like I'm a professional writer. I write. So most of my summer has been writing. And then I hit that 2-week sweet spot where I was waiting for my beta readers to get back to me. And basically just been fighting madness because I can't actually touch my manuscript till I get feedback. Because if I gave out manuscripts for people to read, and then I have a different manuscript I'm working on, then I've kind of like shot myself in the foot. Because their feedback wouldn't really reply. So as I'm like casually like judging people for the speed they write, I've spent a decent amount of time like looking for good quotes to put on t-shirts for my merch shop. Pairing with my cover artist to make some cool stuff. And as for work, I'm working. So I work as a tutor, and what's hilarious is my older brother, who lives in the same apartment as me, is technically a student that can hire me for tutoring. Like, he's in the courses, he has a student number, so I'm like to my boss, if he books me, can I just walk to the next room for my shift, and that's my shift? It's like, if it's school related, yeah. So he's been writing a bunch of papers on how switching from coal power to nuclear power will make us not die of global warming while we build sustainable energy.
Right.
You know, because a brick of plutonium will power all of Canada for like 6 years, so that gives us a lot of time to set up solar plants and windmills without burning fuel. And I'm just like actually in the next room doing my job. I'm just like, you know what's hilarious? I'm getting paid for something I would do anyway, but also maybe I shouldn't have been doing this for free the whole time. Because tutoring's a funny science, so you're not allowed to actually teach people things. That's not my job.
Right.
My job is to talk calmly and politely while people have their own epiphanies. And most of my job is calming people down from panic attacks. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so I can't say any student names because that part's confidential. But I have had students come and be like, help, what do I do? I'm failing the course, and the final's in 2 days. Is the majority of like students I get. And what usually happens is it's something like they did bad math and added up their grades wrong.
Right.
So I literally had a student where all we had to do is, what happened was the computer was marking the multiple choice part of their exam before it marked the short answers, because the teacher had to manually mark the short answers. So they'd click submit on their test and be told they got 60%. But then it would magically go up to 80 because the teacher would go around to marking the questions they had to actually mark.
Right.
So I had a student where I was able to tutor their grade from a 60 to an 80 because I told them pull out a calculator and add up what your grades are and you'll be surprised. And part of that is a lot of the students who have the self-awareness to ask for tutoring are probably actually fine.
Right.
So a lot of it is me calming people down, reading their stuff to them and asking them what sounds wrong. Like one, I just simply read the slides off to somebody and they took notes and then bumped up their slideshow and went from like a 60 to an 80 on that from just me pointing out what they already knew. So the takeaway here is people are a lot smarter than they realize, and they're their own worst enemies.
I mean, that's definitely fair. And I mean, and like you say, the people who actually like care enough to book a tutor, it's like they're pretty invested, so they're actually usually doing all right. They're just getting in their own headspace and need someone to help them refocus.
Exactly. So a lot of it's been things like, well, sometimes I'll do something like, oh, why don't you try going through this module or things like that. Because several students I've had have had issues with simply, hey, I'm not friendly with computers. What is Google? I'm like, okay, I'm going to get you some workshops, get your tech-savvy things, because you know the subject matter. You've just been out of school for a decade, and not everyone in that decade got information rectangles and spent 12 hours a day staring at their information rectangles.
Right.
But it's like the kind of person who'd ask for the help is the person who benefits the most from the help, and ironically, is the least work for me. Because a lot of it's like, okay, let's coach you. You already know this. Tell me what you know. Okay, good. What are you struggling with? Okay. Oh, go through this and this and you'll be good to go. Thumbs up. Same time next week. Click book on my schedule. We're good to go. So my tutoring's been going great, but...
So you're not allowed to actually teach people those things, though. Is that like not allowed or just don't?
So for academic integrity, my pen can never touch their paper.
Yeah,
because the difference between tutoring and collaborating is a big point. So when I'm tutoring someone, I'm not using my own material and I'm not giving my personal opinions. But I do have access to various teachers' handouts, slides. Like, I have access to the information.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not at my, like, first few months of tutoring. I haven't actually had to do that. Because people have come to me almost entirely with PowerPoints and essays.
Right.
And for those, it's not about the subject matter. It's about the presentation.
Right.
Because I'll walk someone through how you substance edit, then line edit, then copy edit. And by the time they've applied that 3-wave editing to their paper, they're good to go. So what class they're taking is almost irrelevant. Because I just have to teach them how one substance edits, line edits, and copy edits. Because I have that down to a science.
Right.
And my biggest skill I have in this life is time management, which is why I can just write a book over the summer, is entirely on time structuring, because I'm not a hardworking human being. We all know this. This isn't a surprise.
Right.
I'm just a really efficient human being who finds the path of least resistance through life.
Makes sense.
Because working hard is for chumps. Like, it's not hard work, it's smart work and passionate work. Because if you enjoy what you're doing, then it doesn't feel like work. And then you don't have to work hard because you like what you're doing.
Makes sense. I mean, like, that's kind of the whole point of going to school, is to try and find something that you're passionate about and learn how to do it better.
Pretty much. Or more like, how do I take this thing I enjoy and use it to have food, shelter, and resources to not die?
Yeah, I suppose. That's
like
probably...
I tell people, I'm not trying to be a billionaire with my degree in creative writing and publishing. I'm trying to have food and shelter provided through creative writing and publishing. It's like, I'm not trying to be more successful, I'm trying to be happier. And I seem to be succeeding at that.
Succeeding at being successfully happy.
Oh yeah, like on Friday we had a wrap-up party and I hosted Jackbox games for the tutors. That's a great way to that's one of the best ways a human being can get paid.
To play Jackbox?
Yeah. Or Jenga. A group were playing over webcam because the people who met up in person set up a streaming cam and they're playing Chopsticks Jenga.
Chopsticks Jenga?
Yeah, you have chopsticks and you're playing Jenga.
Oh. Well, how do people play over webcam then?
They just have a webcam staring at the block. So the people were met up physically there, and they were playing Jenga and streaming it to the rest of us who were not physically there.
And so you just watch people play Jenga with chopsticks.
So we were playing Jackbox games, and then the 4 people who were on campus were just live streaming their Jenga game as we were live streaming our Jackbox game.
That does sound like a good way to wrap up the season and have fun.
Oh yeah, so between that and the thousands of other redacted things I've been doing, I've had a great summer. But I also have left this chair like 3 times. It's like,
you were saying that you're pretty excited about in-course or in-class courses because you're actually going to have to
it's such a
like
mixed
get up.
feeling, because it's like getting up at 6 to be at the campus by 8 is closer to returning to my like kitchen lifestyle, but also it'll keep me alive and drain enough of my energy that I can sleep at night. So it's like a perfect fight between the side of me that's like, oh, this is good for me, and the side of me is like, but I'm lazy and don't want to. So,
well, I mean,
oh yeah,
you are like that pitch that we made about the lazy professor at the academy, and you basically just wrote yourself as a professor with teleportation powers.
I mean, to be fair, that would be accurate, and teleportation is so high up on my power of choice list.
but it is true that all the conveniences in the world, and you would still be even late, even with teleportation.
Oh, 100%. Because then I'd be like, oh, I have time to toast a bag. I'll put cream cheese on it. Oh, I forgot to feed Miko. Well, now I'm late. Teleport. Well, it's like I've started doing yoga classes to try and stay in shape, and it's like we're just doing like a simple like sitting planky thing, and I'm like struggling because like, oh, wait a minute. You see, this is harder for me because I weigh more. Right? That's how this works? Because I'm fatter, it's harder for me to burn the fat? Yeah, I'm going to go with that logic.
A lot of problems do end up being somewhat self-reinforcing.
Oh yeah, so that's why it's like, oh, I'm choosing to be happy about going places in the fall because I can't do anything about it, so I might as well try and be as positive as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Try
either
and break the cycle of self-reinforcing problems.
it's either that or get like a nanny cam and a teddy bear and set it up in the classrooms and then just Skype in. But I feel like I'm not going to be allowed to do that, despite my best efforts.
Well, I don't know. You're getting a candy bar budget, so maybe you'll get a.
Oh, I'm so happy
Well-
about that. Hey, sign up for our newsletter to learn important school things, and I will bribe you to do this. Come on. Like, my aesthetic is bribing people to better their lives. Like, that would be my full-time ideal job.
I was gonna say maybe you could get a nanny cam budget, but I don't think they would go for that.
Nah. I'm a pretty good spin doctor. I'm pretty good at spinning things to sound like I'm doing good for the world while indirectly benefiting myself. But that one would be tough sell. But yeah, so for me, that's all I've been up to is most of my day in this desk. It's been a little less fire outside, so I've been able to do a bit more walks out, but it's been a little crispy. A lot of lightning, thunderbolts, and lightning, and very, very frightening things going on today. I think Rayquaza's at it again.
Well, the summer here in Saskatchewan has been a really wet and rainy summer for Saskatchewan too. No major storms that knocked the power out or anything, but I mean there was the one torrential downpour that ruined my phone. Ooh, speaking of ruined phone, I don't know if you've ever been to Costco yourself.
Yes.
But Costco, they apparently accept anything for returns.
Disclaimer, we are not sponsored by Costco. However, Costco, if you are listening...
Okay, so Costco has this phone, the Moto G Play. Mm-hmm. It was like $190 before taxes, so it was only $200, $210 after taxes in Saskatchewan here, because we believe in PST.
Do you believe in it? Or is this the daylight savings thing where it just kind of happened and no one did anything?
Oh, it's bureaucracy causes a lot of our funds to be misappropriated, but that's a topic for another day.
Oh man, we just go into a straight up political podcast? No. You know how many times I've said this week I'll be chatting with my brother about something, be like, but for the record, I have not researched this in any way. So do not hold me to this claim.
But more to the point, I get a phone from Costco because I wanted to buy a replacement phone for the one that I had that broke. And I was like, I don't have a lot of money, so I'm just going to buy this super cheap phone, which is completely unbeatable for the price. I have not found a better phone that was even close to the same price. But
so now you can play Pokemon Go.
I pulled the phone out of the box, and the back was peeling off as it came out of the box. I was like, okay, gotta go return this.
Yeah.
So we go back to Costco, we return the phone, and they don't do exchanges. You return the item, they refund you, and then you go and you buy the same item.
Fair. Sure. I'm not going to question their methods here.
Yeah, I know. They're just like, we won't exchange it, though. Like, okay, whatever. So I go in and buy my new phone. And then a week later, I had my phone on my lap. I was pulling to the driveway. I'm gathering all my stuff, have my phone on my lap. And then I forgot I had my phone on my lap, and I just step out of the vehicle, and it falls and the screen smashes.
Not where I thought this story was going, but please continue.
I'm like, oh man, now what am I gonna do? Like, this phone is so cheap that replacing the screen is probably gonna cost as much as replacing the phone. But oh. But then my girlfriend's like, yeah, my mom says Costco takes anything on return, so we should just try and go return it. So, yeah, I mean, I feel a little bit bad. Like I smashed my own phone, but they do have a 90-day return policy, so it's only been a week. It should be good there.
I'm sure Costco will not go bankrupt over your phone.
But so yeah, then we go to the Costco. We're standing in line. We get up to the counter, and we're like, yeah, we need to return this phone. Like, okay, what's wrong with it? Well, the screen's all smashed. I shyly kind of say, And then they're like, "Oh, it's smashed out of the box." I was like, yeah, I dropped it." And they're
Uh,
like, "Oh, we shouldn't be taking this on return, but we'll do it for you. But we're not going to give you a refund. We're going to put the money on this Costco card, so that way you have to spend the money here." And I was like, "Oh well, I mean, I was just planning on spending the amount of money on this Costco card on the new phone, so that's perfect."
it's like, we're punishing you. Have exactly what you want. Okay.
Yeah, and so then we go to the till, we swipe the Costco card, and they go to tell me what the balance is. They're like, oh, there's nothing left there. And it's like, well, yeah, I knew there wouldn't be anything left there. It was like literally
Like,
to the
that's
penny.
exactly how this should happen. It's like,
That's
I'd be more
exactly what
concerned
should happen.
if I had earned like even 5 cents, I would have invented infinite money.
Yeah, but no, it was exactly the cost of the new phone. And so now I've had this phone for just over 2 weeks now, because I got it right before I left for Calgary.
So, should I design a new phone case for you in the merch shop? Does your phone accept merch cases?
My girlfriend happened to have the first week that I was in Calgary. She happened to have that off, so she came with me. And the company that I work for was actually nice enough to expense her meals along with mine, which was pretty cool.
Hence the failure to get Olive Garden. I think I read somewhere they didn't even like pay the Sonic movie for that. Like, they just put in that joke because they thought it would be funny. And I'm like, did they get like more? They must have got more business out of sheer curiosity.
Whether or not the Olive Garden plug actually affected Olive Garden sales.
I think it did positively, but I don't think they were trying to. I think it just worked out that way. Like,
But so my girlfriend happened to be in Calgary with me, so while I was at work, she went and walked to like a mall, and she goes into a shop to find me a phone case. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, this is the phone case you need. This is the phone case you need." She's like, "I don't think it is." He's like, "Oh, you need that phone case." So then she picks it up and she brings it back to the hotel room, and wouldn't you know, it wasn't the right phone case.
I feel like the plot twist is not so twisty. This is like, oh, did you know that the other character also wished for a power-up to be the strongest in the universe? What? No!
But fortunately, the pushy shopkeeper was willing to do an exchange. She just brought back the wrong phone case and just grabbed the right one.
I should hope so. They did this.
And so now my phone does actually have a phone case, which has allowed it to survive more than a week as I use it daily.
I'm just saying, I can make you a Ciora phone case. Trying to find her most savage one-liners from my novel. It's possible. I have the technology.
I did really enjoy the brain damage quote. I thought that is a very quotable shirt for sure.
Oh, I am happy with that one. I'm happy with this book. I just need to actually, like, now that everyone's read it, start applying their feedback and then finish this up. I'm thinking end of September for a hypothetical launch.
Yeah, I actually need to get started on the stoplight edit because I haven't actually.
Oh, instead I just sent you a feedback survey.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't click on that link either. Maybe I should do that.
Because it's coming a little late for the stoplight because I'm about to start going down to serious work on it, but not too late for the survey.
Makes sense.
But this segues not at all nicely to our random question of the day. Submit your random question for your chance to win a digital deluxe edition of The Waltz of Blades. Get caught up. Don't be a Karl. Have the first book read before the second one comes out. Actually, you did read the first book. Be a Karl. Yeah.
Yeah, I read both those books.
Which is fantastic because it makes me happy. My narcissism... You see, I exist and I'm solely powered by people liking me. So reading my book just feeds my strength. All right. So our random question, and then at some point I might like start giving away like once I get the merch shop formally launched, which you guys, our fine listeners, will hear when it's up and going. I will probably start giving away T-shirts for the random question of the week, quite possibly.
Oh,
but for now,
that does sound fancy.
our random question: What is the longest you have gone without sleep?
The longest that I've gone without sleep.
All right.
I don't remember what we were raising money for, but when I was in elementary school, probably like grade 7 or 8, we had a wake-a-thon. And basically you just like spend the weekend in a church doing like in the basement of a church where they have like a projector and like popcorn popper and like basically I could have a weekend long slumber party, but minus the slumber.
Okay.
And I think I managed to actually hit 72 hours.
Okay, so this is a tough one. I should really read our random questions that's submitted. I basically have them in a little file folder right now, but I don't actually pay attention to them. I just put them in when I get them, so it surprises me when they come up in the video.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, I don't know. So at the risk of giving gross medical information at the end of my podcast episode, I had a thing in my armpit that really hurt, and I could not sleep until I got the doctor to slice it open. So I think I stayed up like 3 days over that one. Because, pain. But when we go to like the most deliberately longest I've stayed up, I don't know, me and you have done some pretty impressive Dragon Ball Z marathons and things over the years. I feel like we've definitely done 24 just for the heck of it. But
yeah, we definitely. I think you only ever hosted one Dragon Ball Z marathon though.
Well, to be fair, Dragon Ball Z is actually just not that good. Come at me, internet. It is iconic. It lodged itself directly into my memory cells growing up as a kid. Not the best anime.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think me and you have done the 24-hour before just cuz. But yeah, I don't know if I ever made a full 72, but if I did, it would be medically related.
I think it might have been like a moral hunger, like wake-a-thon type of thing. Like I don't know what. Can't think of what charity it would have been specifically. That was a long time ago. I'm old.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. I think the most recent all-nighter I pulled was at 6 a.m. course registration open. I'm like, I'll just stay up.
That makes sense. Because you got to make sure you get on your courses quickly. I mean, for your creative writing course, it's probably not so bad. But if you want to get any like the sciences and stuff, like those just fill up so quickly because they're required for so many different degrees.
Well, for part of how my school degree is set up, to give a little bit of a monologue here, is our courses 4 out of 5 are pre-selected as part of the degree program. It's one of the benefits of the college is you are told what you need to, so you can't. It would take very active effort to not graduate in this 4-year degree program in 4 years. Like, you'd have to, actively self-sabotage to not do it on time. But the creative writing and programming creative writing and publishing program, there we go, is set up that you get a certain number of program electives. And those, we take our, 60-person cohort, and it's like a 50-50 split. One of the options was reading before the Restoration, so stories before the 1600s like Gilgamesh and Iliad type things, or reading after the Restoration, which in my experience is old white man being sad. So I desperately wanted to go where James Joyce and Hemingway were not.
Right.
So I was willing to forego sleep specifically to avoid that class. The second option
that makes sense.
The second option I had to choose from had no real bad options. It was either a class on how to write reviews and how to be a web critic effectively, or a class on marketing. Both those are winners to me as a writer. A marketing class would be useful, and a writing reviews class equally useful. Maybe I could review Dragon Ball Super manga on Anime News Network. That's a great class to take. The third option I had to pick between was, do I want to do a module on fiction, nonfiction, or poetry? And those keep coming up over the course. So it's if I don't get the one I want now, I have to do them all eventually anyway.
Right.
And then the last option was for my elective. So I did have to choose between 5 classes, but most of them were just a 50-50 choice. And realistically, if you weren't picky, the number of seats is equal to the number of students you have to get in.
Right.
Other than my one elective, which is the last elective I had to do, which is I'm doing world history because I thought medieval history plus reading before the Restoration, double down bonus points. I want to see how accurate Fate Stay Night is. That is the entire point of me doing a medieval history class. I was writing an essay on Alexander the Great last semester, and I could not remember if the fun facts were from history or from Fate Zero. Which is a problem, because Fate Zero has no obligation to be accurate.
But so with that revelation that a lot of things have no obligation to be accurate.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
We hope that you'll join us again in the future to hear our random ramblings about
random things,
street signs and water slides,
and unlimited breadsticks that you'll never know about because you never got those breadsticks. And with that, take care. Bye.
Bye.